If you've ever heard about Bitcoin or have ever really been interested in it, but have never actually pursued it because of how messy or complicated it might seem to get your hands on it, then stick around because this video is for you. In just a few minutes, I'm going to break down how to easily get started with Bitcoin, how to understand it, how to purchase it if you're in Canada, and in only a few minutes, you're going to understand how to get Bitcoin and cryptocurrency quicker than you can buy a box of Timbits, or the amount of time it takes a Vancouverite to realize that the Canucks probably aren't going to make the playoffs again. So, before we get into the how of buying Bitcoin, we should get into the why. To understand cryptocurrency, it's really important to understand currency as it exists right now and the currency crisis that we're currently facing. American dollars, Canadian dollars, central banks and governments around the world control the ebb and flow of currencies. Now, these currencies used to be backed by something material and physical, maybe an ounce of gold. For decades after World War II in North America, you could be rest assured that a piece of paper could be redeemable for some quantity of gold that existed in a Federal Reserve or a central government bank. But in 1971, US President Richard Nixon suspended this system in North America, called the Bretton Woods Agreement, and societies and economies have changed radically ever since. In fact, there is a website called WTF Happened in 1971 where you can see statistics of all sorts of things that have completely changed since the Bretton Woods Agreement was taken off the table. Some statistics like the bottom 90% of earners in the economy having an almost flatlining of income since the 70s. Cumulative inflation growing at exponential rates, public debt starting to skyrocket through the endless funding of wars, and economic productivity skyrocketing, but said compensation for such productivity basically remaining flat. All of these things in the economy and so much more have become the result of fiat money. Money that exists but isn't actually backed by anything. Enter 2020. The coronavirus sweeps the world, businesses and economies are shut down, and you guessed it, the government prints even more money to try and fix everything. In fact, in the last 12 months, the government of the United States has printed 20% of all of the existing circulating supply of US currency. But instead of a majority of that money going to economically devastated individuals and families affected by the coronavirus pandemic, it's gone on a one-way ticket to, you guessed it, big banks and corporations. Every year since 1971, political unrest around the world and in North America has grown. As of recently, we've had those Capitol protests, we have populist leaders taking power all over the world, and all of this really stems from one thing: our distrust in money, where it comes from, and who controls a majority of it. And that's where Bitcoin comes in. For the first time ever, a new form of sound money that harkens back to the gold-backed currencies of post-World War II now exists, all running flawlessly, 100% digitally, without the need of a central government or corporation. Without explaining every little detail about how it works, Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency, a way of sending value, saving your money, or exchanging value with others, all running 24/7 without the need of a government or a central body authority. And even further, the architecture of Bitcoin only ever allows 21 million to be in all of existence. In many ways, it's the antithesis of fiat money. It's transparent, it's deflationary, and it's trustless. And it's a lot like gold, but in many ways, it's so much better. It's easy to fragment into really small units, it's instantaneous to send, and it's impossible to forge or fake. Now, these are some little points about Bitcoin, but the key points are this. While the government continues to create money out of thin air, while your savings account is giving you 0 to 0.1% of interest per year, your question shouldn't be, why should I buy Bitcoin? It should be, why haven't I already bought Bitcoin? When your government dilutes your monetary supply and your work and your value at about 20% in 1 year, what do you really have to lose? Before we get into Bitcoin, I want to clear up a few misconceptions about it. And one of the easiest and most simple ones is that I can't get into Bitcoin now, it's too expensive, I can't even afford one. Well, one Bitcoin is like $20, $30, or $40,000, but each Bitcoin can be broken down into 100 million units known as Satoshis. So 100 Satoshis, for example, is about 4 cents. And when you're using the platforms, and especially the one I'm going to show you today on how to buy Bitcoin, you could buy as little as like $1 to $10 at a time. So there really is no barrier to entry. And the second biggest misconception about Bitcoin is that it's too volatile to be an asset that you can store your value in or invest in or use as a savings account. Now, yes, Bitcoin does have a track record of being really volatile. It can go up 20 or 30% or down 20 or 30% in a matter of days or sometimes even hours, but not so much anymore. But the main point is that we're moving into a world where volatility is the norm. I mean, if you just look at the stock market this year, at the bottom of the March COVID panic, the stock market had dropped 35% in about 2 to 3 weeks. And that's 50% of all Americans own a piece of the S&P 500 or that index that dropped that quickly. And likewise, it's risen about 40% since. You have stocks of big companies like Tesla going up almost 1,000% in a year, and it made Elon Musk the world's richest man. You have the price of oil last year, which went from $40 a barrel to negative $30 a barrel, which means they paid you to take oil off their hands, and now it's back up to 50. I mean, you've noticed that at the price of the pump. And you have things like real estate, even during a pandemic, going up 8%. You have airlines crashing 60%. But the main point in all of this is that the supply of money itself, currency, real dollars, has gone up about 20% this year. So yes, there is volatility, but at least with money, we know where the value of it is going. We know that if you put money into a savings account today and you want to get something 10 years from now, you're going to be able to buy a whole lot less with it. Money as we know it under inflation, dollars, they lose value over time. And that's really why Bitcoin is super important. And lastly, for any last minute concerns about volatility, because Bitcoin is a newer asset and why invest in that over other things, here's a short video that I really liked.
LeBron James started playing basketball at age 9.
Yes.
And by age 18, all the scouts knew this is the best high school basketball player in the world. And he's probably one of the best professional basketball players in the world. At age 13, he probably punched somebody on the court, and he might have missed a game at 15 because he smoked some weed. And he's a little bit volatile here and there because he's at age 11. Maybe he got pissed off at someone. And you're like, oh, LeBron James is volatile. When's he going to blow up again? From age 19 to age 29, LeBron James crushed everybody and everything in his way. Yeah. And you probably should have signed him. Because just because someone's first 10 years, they were promising and volatile, doesn't mean that the next 10 years of the athlete is going to be an exact repeat.
Yeah.
It isn't, man. When you're 25-year-old, you don't act like when you were 13 years old. Right. And Bitcoin is moving from its first 10 years to its next 10 years. And it's a much more mature asset. It's not, you can't look backwards and say, I'm sure it'll be like it used to be.
All right, so let's get into actually buying Bitcoin. So the first thing to understand is there's a lot of different ways to buy Bitcoin. There are Bitcoin ATMs, there are websites where you can sign up. Everyone's offering a different Bitcoin thing here and there, but I'll break it down really simply so you can understand. And I'm gonna only recommend one simple platform for buying it or selling it if you're just getting into it long term. The best way to buy Bitcoin is on a cryptocurrency exchange. Now, there are a lot of these around. There's Coinbase, there's Gemini, there's Binance. These are like little marketplaces that allow you to convert your US dollars or your Canadian dollars directly into Bitcoin and buy and trade it. And there's also these other platforms out there like Wealthsimple or PayPal or Mogo that allow you to buy Bitcoin through their app. But the problem with those things is they're giving you more of like an IOU letter to the Bitcoin rather than giving you actual possession of Bitcoin. If you think of Bitcoin like cash, some of these apps like PayPal, they let you access and buy into what Bitcoin price would be at the time, but you can't actually pull it off the exchange. You can't use it to buy goods or services. And at the end of the day, Bitcoin's all about being able to control your own money and your own destiny, and these platforms don't really allow you to do that. Now, the easiest and most simple way to get into buying yourself Bitcoin is through an app, a platform called Shakepay right here in Canada. And if you ever used eTransfers before to pay back a friend or to pay rent, getting your money from your bank account into Shakepay to buy Bitcoin and have possession of is just about as easy as that. The whole sign-up process maybe takes a couple minutes, and we're going to run through it right now. Now, one of the reasons I really like Shakepay is because it is fully audited here in Canada. It's a money service transfer business under FinTrack, and it's licensed to operate legally in all Canadian provinces and territories. They are audited regularly to make sure that the Bitcoin and the money that they have in their accounts is real. No one is running off and doing anything shady with it. That stuff at all times is held under a secure cold wallet and is not going to get broken into or stolen anytime soon. And whatever you put into the platform is yours to do with. They also have a really responsive customer support. So if you do run into any problems signing up or moving money here and there, they get back to you almost instantaneously, which is great. And another cool feature, and I'm going to show my referral link down below, but if you get referred to Shakepay and you sign up through that link, or you already have signed up on Shakepay and you refer a family or friend, there's this little feature called shaking sats, where basically you can take your phone and you can shake it like once a day, sort of like a Snapchat streak, and they give you free Satoshis, which is kind of that small unit of Bitcoin we talked about earlier. And if you do this for like 200 days, you can end up making almost $1 to $2 worth of Bitcoin a day, which is a really great and generous feature of Shakepay to kind of encourage people to stay with it with the Bitcoin community and, you know, check up on their funds and the price of Bitcoin regularly. So yeah, highly recommend it just for that feature alone. Okay, so to get started on Shakepay, we're going to run it through. I'm going to do it on my phone because it's simpler to do it that way. You can do it on computer, but because you will need to verify your identification and take a little selfie of yourself just to get all checked in, I'm going to just run through it on phone because it's a little bit simpler that way. So first, go to the iOS or the Google Play Store if you have an Android or an Apple phone, and just look up Shakepay and just download the app. When you have the app downloaded, you're going to have a little screen like this. I'll put it somewhere on the screen here. Basically, just click Create an Account. Once you're done that, basically it's like signing up for any platform. You use a username, you set an email and a password. Definitely recommend not using an email that you feel is compromised in any way by a hack or something intrusive. I know that there's this website called Have I Been PWNED pwned? That will show you if your account info and your passwords have been compromised in any other website attacks in the past. There's websites like Adobe, Canva, lots of platforms where your username and password were on a big list. Because you're dealing with money, it's really important to set a really unique password that you write down and remember, and hopefully an email that no one can crack into as well to steal those funds. So just make sure that everything when you're signing up here is really secure before you kind of put your confidential information in. So once you've kind of set up your account, it's going to ask you to verify. Now, I'm already set up, but I haven't verified just for the sake of this video, so I'm going to just run you through that really quickly here. So the way that verification works on Shakepay is just imagine going to a bank, but you have to do it from home on your phone. It's very pandemic friendly, very pandemic kosher. So what you'll need is you'll need to have some sort of identification document like a passport or a driver's license or an ID card. I'm going to use my driver's license here really quick, but essentially what you do is you go into the verification process, you click Start, you select the document that you want to use, just say it's a driver's license, pick your country that you want to use it on, and then just take photos of the front and the back of the license. And then one of the unique steps is just to verify that it's actually you signing up for this account and not a robot. They make you do a little bit of a selfie video, which we'll run through here as well. So you need to enable your microphone and your camera access and all that stuff too as part of the app. You know. 387. Cool. And yeah, so once your verification is submitted, you've hit submit now and all that, you will be verified either within an hour to 2 hours. They say about 70% of the accounts are verified really quickly in about 1 to 2 hours, and then you are good to go. And basically, if you want to start buying Bitcoin, what you do is you can have two ways of sending the money. You can either wire transfer that money in, which is kind of like a traditional wire transfer at a bank, which kind of takes a little long. Or you can e-transfer, which is probably the way that you've been paying rent or payments or whatever through this pandemic. So what you'll do is you'll go to kind of the main screen on Shakepay. I already have a bit of money in here. And you'll click Add Funds. And then you can choose Interact eTransfer. And then basically what you do here is you set up a new eTransfer contact in your banking application. Now everyone has a different one, but I use BMO. So you set up a contact, you give them the first line, which is the email that you send the money to. As the security question, you use your username or your shake tag, which they let you copy and paste there. And then as the security answer, you put in that kind of answer that they give you there as well. And once you send that transfer out, a lot of banks have different limits to how much you can send out, but generally it's about $3,000 a day, $10,000 a week. Once you send that eTransfer, your money will be in Shakepay within probably 20, 30 minutes, an hour tops, and you can go and you can buy Bitcoin. Now, to show you how to buy Bitcoin on the app, basically, you'll see your dollars, your Bitcoin, and your Ethereum amount. Ethereum is another cryptocurrency. I did a whole explainer on that a little while ago, but if you're going to get into cryptocurrencies in general, I stick with the top two, but let's just focus on Bitcoin for this video. You'll click Bitcoin, and you'll see any list of transactions you've had in the past. You can send it and receive it to other Bitcoin addresses, and we'll go into that a little bit later, how they work. But just for sakes of, you have your money in your Shakepay account and you just want to buy some Bitcoin, you click the little exchange icon in the top right corner here, and then you can buy and sell Bitcoin. So initially it's going to just prompt you to sell it. I can sell a certain amount, which is say 0.01. It tells me how much I'm going to get for that, $410. But you just switch this little button here, and now you're going to go from dollars to Bitcoin. Let's just say I want to buy... I'm feeling rich today. I like the price of Bitcoin. I'm going to buy $100 worth, which is 0.00237 Bitcoin, where one Bitcoin is about $42,000. All you do is you click buy Bitcoin. It's just like a calculator. Simple as that. Confirm the transaction. Click confirm. Processing. It takes a second. And there you go. You've bought Bitcoin. You'll get an email confirming that you've purchased said Bitcoin, which is great. And then you can either just keep it on here or you can send it to another Bitcoin address. And to get into addresses, we're going to talk a little bit about wallets and what a wallet is when it comes to cryptocurrency. Because unlike buying a stock or a title deed or something like that, Bitcoin works a lot like cash, where you can move it around, you can keep it on a device, and basically the way that you set up wallets is similar to how you set up a bank account. So one of the whole points of Bitcoin in general, and it's really important to understand this concept, is unlike any other financial instrument in the entire world, nobody can take it away from you. Even at gunpoint, no one can take away your Bitcoin if you choose to make it secure in a way that no one can take it away from you. When it comes to things like gold, the government has a history of literally going to people's houses, ransacking and stealing gold. Title deeds from real estate can be put in escrow, taken away from you. Stocks can be held that you can't trade. Bonds can be made worthless. All sorts of things can be seized or, made worthless from a government. But Bitcoin cannot, because Bitcoin, all it is code on a peer-to-peer network that runs on the internet, sort of like the same way that a pirated movie runs on the internet. Peer-to-peer through this system of a person hosting the Bitcoin ledger, the history of the entire Bitcoin network. And yeah, I'm not going to get into the complicated elements of this, but in the same way that no one can ever stop internet piracy because there's torrents and everyone can just host a copy of a file, Bitcoin is sort of like that too, minus the ability to just endlessly duplicate it. And that's kind of what makes the blockchain process so interesting. So yes, as long as the internet and communication centers around the world are not completely dissolved in a solar flare and you're still able to get online, you will have access to your money. And if anything like that happens, you have bigger problems to worry about than your money. You probably have to worry about getting the hell off this planet. We're just going to jump into something that I wrote up really quick here just so that you can get a grasp on what a Bitcoin wallet actually is. A Bitcoin wallet is not a physical wallet, but basically like an account on the Bitcoin network that allows you to store your Bitcoin and allows you to send it and receive it from others. And since the Bitcoin network is decentralized and protected through cryptography, no one can steal your username or your password to your Bitcoin wallet unless you make it blatantly obvious for them to do so and steal it from you. Now, think of the Bitcoin network signing up like having a username and a password, except instead of username and password, we're going to use the phrase public key and private key. Your public key is the thing that you give out to other people if you want to receive Bitcoin, and people can actually see how much Bitcoin you have based on just looking up your public wallet. And your private key is what keeps that secure and prevents anyone from getting in there. You need the private key in order to send any money from that account, basically, or sign any transactions. Now, the thing that makes this a little bit different from something like Shakepay is when you have Bitcoin on an account like Shakepay, you have the ability to send and receive that Bitcoin, but you don't actually have full ownership and possession of it in case Shakepay, the website, goes down, which is why I always recommend that people have a Bitcoin digital wallet of their own, because the Bitcoin network itself will never and has never gone down. Now, there's lots of different ways to set up your own Bitcoin real digital wallet, but we're going to go over the simplest ones that I recommend here. You can get these ones called either Engine Wallet or Edge Wallet off of the Android App Store or the iOS App Store. And these essentially store your public and your private key for you, and you can do cool things like attach it to your biometrics, your fingerprint reader, or you can attach it to your Face ID so that only you and you can access your funds. Now, the only problem I have with this is that if anything happens to your phone, God forbid it falls down a crack or whatever, you're kind of shit out of luck. Sometimes they have seed phrases, so when you set up the wallet, you can write these little words on a piece of paper in case you lose your phone, and you can recover your wallet if anything terrible happens. But because of that point of failure, I don't always recommend doing it on your phone. Now, the thing that you want to do to protect your crypto is you can literally, if you wanted to, you could actually write down your public and your private key. They're about 30 to 50 characters, alphanumeric letters and numbers. Probably impossible to remember unless you had a photographic memory, but if you wanted to secure your wallet that way, you could literally write it down on a piece of paper. And a fun fact actually is that the Winklevoss twins, if you remember them, they're the Facebook social network ones played by Armie Hammer. They have a really interesting story because after the Facebook settlement, they got, I think, $60 million or so dollars. They put $10 million into Bitcoin in 2013, and I believe they own 1% of the entire supply, and they're billionaires now. And anyway, one of the interesting ways that they set it up is they did just exactly that, is they got the username and password to the multitudes of wallets where they stored that hundreds of thousands of dollars of Bitcoin, millions, and they wrote these their username and password into little pieces of paper, and they fragmented these pieces of paper, and they went to places all over the country and they stored it. And it sort of reminds me of Horcruxes, if you've ever seen Harry Potter, how Voldemort split his soul into like 7 pieces and put it all over the place so no one could kind of, knock him out. So you can do that too if you want. The easiest way to do it, and it costs a little bit, about 70 to 100 bucks to get started, is to get one of these. They are called a nano ledger. There's an S or an X. They don't really have too big of a difference. One is Bluetooth, one is not. But essentially they are like a physical USB key that you have to plug into your device, whether it's a computer or a phone, to access that public and private key. So these little USB keys, they keep that data, those 40 or 50 characters on here. It's secured by another layer of protection. You have to enter a 8-digit PIN code to even have access to those things. And basically by putting your funds onto a physical wallet like this, a ledger, you can take this, you can put it into a safety deposit box if you want to trust your bank with crypto. Although I don't think safety deposit boxes are insured. Or you can literally dig a hole on a piece of land that your uncle owns or that you own and write down the coordinates, and then no one's going to access this for eternity. So there are lots of ways to secure your Bitcoin. It seems a little bit daunting, I know, but once you get over the technical aspects, you'll realize how much freedom there is in being able to have full control of your own money and thereby your own destiny. So yeah, I prefer using a ledger. I have a couple of these, and the way that I store my Bitcoin long-term is definitely on these, and I can put them wherever the hell I want. No one's going to know, no one's going to find out. I have maybe details in my will if I ever die. I haven't written a will yet, but you don't need to know that. Why am I talking about all this stuff on camera? God damn. So lastly, I want to give my parting advice on how much Bitcoin to buy. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I have done well with Bitcoin, so I'm only going to tell people what I've learned about the whole process. But everybody has a different financial situation. And I never recommend going all into anything, even if it's a groundbreaking idea like Bitcoin, because if you ever need money and you have it locked up in something that's a little bit harder to move, you can really screw yourself. So again, my recommendation is don't invest cash that you will definitely be needing in the next 2 to 3 years to pay rent or expenses or otherwise. Make sure that you have the longest time preference possible for Bitcoin, as it's something that really compounds exponentially over time, and if you are just in it to make a quick cash grab, it's not going to work. Bitcoin is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a don't-get-poor-slowly scheme, and that's the best way that I can possibly explain it. What I've seen a lot of people doing when they approach Bitcoin is figuring out first what their net worth is, how much they're worth based on the assets they have, the cash they have, maybe the cash that they're owed, the debts that they have. Figure out your net worth, and from there delegate a percentage of that to Bitcoin. And then from there, the best thing that I can recommend is to just treat it like a savings account. Because your savings account is generating you 0% interest, use Bitcoin as your savings account, because on average, it's doing about 150% or so per year of appreciation. So it's more than doubling almost every single year since the inception of it in 2009. So the way that I would approach it is, let's just say I am making $4,000 a month. I'm getting, $200 to $400 in savings. You can either put that all into Bitcoin every month, or you can take just a chunk of it that you feel comfortable with and just do those buys on Bitcoin. Stall it out maybe once per month, once per week, once every few days. Get that average going, and don't pay attention to the price that you bought your Bitcoin in and what your cost average is, because what you want to do over time with Bitcoin, if you're going to use it as a savings account, is to dollar cost average. And just to get into the importance of that, there is a website here called DCA BTC, and a few stats that I've written down here. If you put in, starting in January 2020, just $100 a month into Bitcoin, would it cost you about $1,200? It would be worth $2,430 today, and that's just in the last year. And getting even crazier, over the last 5 years, if you put in just $1 single into Bitcoin every single day for the last 5 years, 365 days a year, it would be worth $34,000 today, and it would have only costed you about $1,800. So there is a power to dollar cost averaging. Again, look at this as a very long-term thing, and you're going to end up really well in the long run. So yeah, I think that's about everything when it comes to Bitcoin. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer anything in the comments down below. I know it was a bit of an information overload. I said it was a simple guide. I said it was going to be quicker than getting Timbits. But look, you made it all the way to the end, so you're still watching, you're still interested, and I'm excited because you're going to go out, if you haven't already, and you're going to get yourself some Bitcoin, and you're going to join the monetary revolution. You're going to free yourself from the inflationary government policies. And yeah, you're going to be storing your value in something that is proven and here to stay. So thanks so much. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. Give the video a like because that helps the algorithm. It helps this video reach more Canadians and more people getting into Bitcoin. And yes, once again, if you have any questions, ask me down below and I will be on it like white on rice. I heard that one somewhere. I don't know why I'm repeating it, but yeah. All right, take care and hodl on. HODL means hold on for dear life. You're going to hear that one a lot. Take care.